my name is Jessie and welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to talk about Outlander. So if you've been dying to know what all the hype is about, I want to talk about it today. Outlander follows the story of a woman named Claire who is living currently in 1945 and just got back from World War II. She was working as a combat nurse. Her and her husband both come back together after the war and want to take a trip somewhere, kind of as like a second honeymoon where they can reignite their relationship after so much time apart during the war. So they go on their second honeymoon to Scotland, and while they are exploring where they are staying, Claire goes off by herself one morning. Claire finds these standing stones and decides to explore and touches one of those stones and ends up actually being transported back in time to the year 1743. She gets put back in time in Scotland when Scotland was ravaged by wars and bordering clan raids. So where she's put is a very dangerous place, and she quickly finds that she has to learn how to adapt to this new time that she's been dropped into. And also with these people who don't know anything about her, don't know where she's from, and she can't tell them the truth because they will think she's a witch and burn her. So while Claire is trying to survive, she is caught up in this epic romance with a Highlander named Jamie, and that is where kind of the story and the whole series begins. This is an 8-book series right now. Diana Gabaldon, the author, is currently working on the 9th, and each book is close to or over 1,000 pages. So they're huge. So big. I think in total the whole series probably comes out to more than 10,000 pages. So this is a lot. Like, it's an investment of your time. So let's figure out if it's worth the investment. The first book in the series is Outlander, of course, and that is clocking in at 850 pages. The second book in the series is A Dragonfly in Amber, and that clocks in at 947 pages. The third book is Voyager, which comes out to 1,059 pages. We've got Drums of Autumn, which comes to 1,070 pages. Next we have The Fiery Cross, and this comes out to 1,443 pages. And just in case the last book wasn't intimidating enough, we then have A Breath of Snow and Ashes, which comes out to 1,439 pages. The second to last book is An Echo in the Bone, and that comes out to 1,149 pages. And the last book, at least so far, is Written in My Own Heart's Blood, which comes out to 1,114 pages? 1,117 pages. You may be asking yourself, how can a series possibly be so big? What stories could you possibly have to tell? Those are all the questions I was asking before I started this series. So let's talk a little bit about each book and kind of about the series as a whole. So Outlander begins our story with everything that I had told you prior. We start to follow that love story between Claire and Jamie, and that's what this series is most known for, is that love story. But also what it focuses on is the time travel aspect and Claire knowing where Scotland is going to be in the future and where these wars that they're currently in lead to. And so they find themselves kind of caught in the middle of trying to figure out how to stop some of these wars, how to get out of some of these wars, how to flee to safety during this very, very turbulent time in history. So it's very much a historical fantasy. And some of these characters that are referenced in the series, some of these places and battles are all true. They all happened. So it's so fascinating to read about this time in history and just how much we take for granted our own lives today and how easy they are compared to what they were dealing with back then. And Diana Gabaldon does not miss one single detail. She lets you know every detail of how it felt to live in that time, how the logistics, how they cooked, how they cleaned, how they traveled. Everything is gone over in such detail, which is why these books are so huge. So if that's something that interests you, really diving into this point in time where we're in that 18th century and following multiple decades of these characters' lives, this may be a series that you'll love. I did not know how much emphasis it would put on more of the historical piece of this and really diving into some of these real world battles and these real world people. Trying not to spoil too much, but also talking about just the series as a whole. It very much starts in Scotland with the first couple books, but as we move on in the series, it actually moves to America as it's being kind of built up and colonized. And it's so fascinating. I mean, it's covering the 1730s until the 1800s in America, which is when everything happened in America. I mean, we go over 1776. Guess who we meet? George Washington. It's so cool. So there are definitely parts of this series that I was not expecting at all to be so fascinated by that I absolutely loved. All of that being said, the downside of this series is obviously the length and the investment of time. Did I read all of these books? Yes, I did. Did I skim a lot of these pages? Yes, I did. Because Diana Gabaldon, she is a wonderful writer. Wonderful, wonderful storyteller. Her books are cherished by so many, but she does not miss a detail. And some of those details I just don't care about. I don't care what they had to eat breakfast, lunch, and dinner. I don't care how they got from point A to point B if nothing happens during that journey. And then she also goes into a lot of detail on Claire's ability to heal and act as a surgeon. So Claire's very much our main protagonist, and she is a doctor during the 18th century, so we go into some of the very, very gruesome details of some of those surgeries she performs and some of the medical kind of experience and all that. And some of that stuff, like, while some of it was really fascinating to read about, some of it was just a lot. It was a lot. So, yes, I did skim a lot of these pages. I'm not proud to admit that, but I wanted to get through this series, and I felt that at times, with the way it drags in certain parts, skimming was the only way it was going to happen. So, at least I got through the whole series. In terms of individual books, my favorite up until the last book was the first book, Outlander. I highly recommend everyone reads Outlander. Couple of warnings though before you decide to pick it up. There are a lot of things that are very graphic in it. There is rape, there is torture, there is very gruesome violence, there is a lot of sex, which may not be a bad thing. Let's be real. So if you are not interested in reading all of that very graphic content, maybe Outlander is not the book for you. If that does not bother you and you read adult fantasies and contemporaries that have elements of those all the time, this is not going to bother you, I don't believe. It personally didn't bother me, so I was able to get through it, even though at times it was very graphic. Outlander, the first book, that was my favorite, so again, I recommend it to everyone. Give it a try, and if you absolutely love it, continue on with the series. If you are like, it was pretty good, I guess I can give the second book a shot, don't do it. It's not worth the amount of time that you're going to put into it. And the rest of the books, while they add so much and are so good, I personally don't think any of them until the 8th book topped Outlander. So if you didn't love Outlander, you're not gonna love any of the others. Outlander very much can stand on its own. You can just read the first book and get enough of the story and the characters where you don't feel like you have to continue on. For each book, my ratings for Outlander, I rated that a 4 out of 5 stars, Dragonfly and Amber 4 out of 5 stars, as well as Voyager 4 out of 5, and Drums of Autumn 4 out of 5 stars. I enjoyed them all pretty much the same amount until Fiery Cross. So the Fiery Cross, I did rate 3 out of 5 stars. For me, it was the book that dragged the most and was one of the hardest to get through, in my personal opinion. And then moving back to book 6, A Breath of Snow and Ashes, I rated that 4 out of 5 stars. And then for An Echo and Bone, book 7, I rated that, again, 3 out of 5 stars. So Fiery Cross and Echo and Bone were definitely the ones that were the biggest hurdles to get through because it was just very slow. And not a lot happens. And considering they're over 1,100 pages, that's shocking. But then I got to book 8, Written in My Own Heart's Blood, and that received 5 out of 5 stars for me. I was not expecting it. It came out of nowhere, especially with how I think the later half of the series dragged more than the first half of the series did. But oh my god, Written in My Own Heart's Blood completely blew me away. Even though it was over 1,000 pages, it flew by. I loved it. I did not skim at all, which is amazing. So that alone should tell you how much I enjoyed this book. For me, it was worth reading all 7 books prior to get to number 8. And again, I enjoyed the whole series. I thought it was very good. Fiery Cross and Echo and Bone, kind of the two that were the most of a miss for me, but Written in My Own Heart's Blood, so good. So now, of course, when book 9 comes out, I have to get it, and I don't care how long it is. For those of you who have heard about the TV show Outlander, it is a TV show on Starz right now, and it is currently on season 5, I believe. So that TV show, I actually just recently started season 1, and it is exactly like the books. It follows it to a T. I know that will probably change once I get past season 1. I've heard that they remove some characters, add some characters, don't kill some characters, kill some characters. So we'll see how much it starts to change. But as of right now, for season 1, it's exactly like the book, and I'm absolutely loving it. The characters are spot on. The casting was spot on. It's an awesome, awesome TV show. So even if you don't read the books, watch the TV show, if that's your jam. Of course, the book is always better, so take that as you will. And I don't want to say too much more about the series. There's a lot that happens in this series, and some books are better than others. I think the strongest of the series is the first book, Outlander. I think A Dragonfly and Amber was excellent. I also thought Voyager was wonderful. And then, of course, my favorite is Written in My Own Heart's Blood, which was book 8. So I think the first 3 books and then book 8 are some of the strongest, and then books 5 and 7 are the weakest, in my opinion. So again, take that as you will. Each book kind of allows you to stop the series if you so choose. There is nothing that there are a couple of cliffhangers, but most of the books end in such a way where if you decide not to continue on with the series and you're happy with where you're at, you can absolutely stop at any point. So don't feel like you have to get through all 8 books to start this series. You do not. I would say if you can get through the first 3, it is worth it. And if you want to try to get to book 8, my favorite, my god, best of luck to you. It's a trek, but it's worth the journey. So Overall, I love this series. It has a very special place in my heart. These characters are some of the most unforgettable characters. You will absolutely love Claire and Jamie. If you decide to follow them through their journey, please let me know in the comments down below. If you've already followed their journey, please let me know, because then we can gush about them together. And that's all I've got for you today. Hopefully this helps if you were considering starting Outlander and weren't sure and just were so intimidated. Hopefully this helps you make up your mind and at least pick up that first book to see what it's all about. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to like and subscribe. I release new videos every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And until next time,